What is up, boys? What's up, baby? We're back for some NBA. We're about an hour till lock. We've got pretty much almost all the news that we need so far. We got the Lakers starting lineup. We got the Warriors starting lineup. We got the the Bucks starting lineup. We're still waiting on the Nets starting lineup. That's the only news we're waiting on so far. But man, it feels good to be making NBA videos again. It feels good to be talking NBA with you guys. Just for the next 30 to 45 minutes. I'm not going to go all the way up until lock, but for the next 30 minutes or so, we'll talk through tonight's slate, answer any questions you have, and cover everything. But I appreciate all you guys being here as always, man. Let's go. Noah, pumped for the NBA season. In my opinion, a lot more fun than NFL to play. I mean, yeah, I like NBA a ton. I still love NFL as well. NFL and NBA are by far the two best DFS sports to play. But yeah, NBA season, man, it's always my favorite time of the year. Love NBA. What's up, Didi? What's up, my man? NBA is back, and so is my daily live stream with Noah. I'm fired up. Hey, welcome back, my man. Welcome back. I know a lot of you guys have kind of been away from the channel, but I appreciate you coming back for the NBA season. Any interest in Jordan Nwora for value? Yeah, I think Nwora does get a decent amount of run. Now, the toughest part about the beginning of the season is we just don't really know what the rotations are going to look like. Some of these teams have new players, specifically like the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers have a really different roster. When it comes to this Bucks team, they're pretty similar from last year. They didn't make too many changes during the offseason. Giannis, Middleton, Drew, Rolo, Connaughton, they still have a lot of the same guys. But I do think Jordan Nwora is going to be a part of the regular season rotation. He wasn't last year. He barely played last year. But I think this year, especially with DiVincenzo out, with Rodney Hood out, with Bobby Portis out, there's going to be opportunity for Jordan Nwora. Now, how many minutes exactly does he play? That's the big question. I think 15 to 20 is pretty likely. And Jordan Nwora, he has shown when he gets minutes, he can be productive. Now, he's going to be playing alongside, Giannis and Middleton and Drew. His usage is going to take a big hit playing alongside those guys, but I think he still gets minutes to where he's viable at 3K. I mean, it's a 2-game slate. You can literally, if anyone's going to play at least 10 to 15 minutes, they're viable on a 2-game slate. Especially if you're playing large field tournaments, so you're trying to get different. I mean, I don't think Jordan Nwora is going to be super low owned or anything, but yeah, I think he's definitely in play on this slate. And I do expect him to get minutes tonight. I would expect him to be a part of the rotation. I think for the Bucks, you got the starters, obviously, and then I think Connaughton's going to get minutes off the bench. I think George Hill's going to get minutes off the bench. I think Nwora gets minutes, and I also think, I don't know how to say this dude's name, but SM, I think he's going to get minutes too because he's their only other big. So that's 9 guys. Maybe they play Thanasis too, but I expect those 9 guys to all get minutes. Any reason to why Kent Bazemore's not on the slate? Kent Bazemore's on the slate. He's in there. He's in the player pool. He's super cheap too. He's 3,600, and we've already got the Lakers starting lineup. The Lakers are starting LeBron, AD, Westbrook, as you would expect, and then Kent Bazemore and DeAndre Jordan are starting. Kent Bazemore, I mean, with no Wayne Ellington, with no THT, Kendrick Nunn's questionable, no Trevor Ariza, I think Kent Bazemore probably plays close to 30 minutes, if not more than 30 minutes. We're going to have to temper our expectations here. Kent Bazemore is not a point-per-minute player by any means, but I think he can do enough in the time that he's going to be on the court to be a good value at 3,600. So, yeah, Kent Bazemore, he's a good value, especially now that we know he's starting. I'm hype as hell, not even going to lie. I'm excited, man. We got about an hour till, the game start. I'm super excited. It just feels good to have NBA back, to be, watching some NBA. Opening night, baby. We made it. Let's get it, Noah. Let's get it, Tank. Would you rather go Curry, Harden, Curry, Durant, or Harden and Durant? The biggest question mark about this slate, the toughest part about this slate is picking which studs to play. There's so many good studs. You could literally make a case for any of these guys above 8K. When it comes to that selection there, I think my choice would probably be Curry and Harden. But, man, it's Curry, Harden, Durant, they all project so closely. They're all going to play similar minutes. I probably wouldn't do Harden and Durant together. That seems, I think the only way that is, like, the winning lineup has both those guys is if, like, it's just a super, super high scoring game. So I probably would go, like, Curry and Harden there. I think Harden's my favorite pay up overall. It's close between him and Giannis, but I think I'm giving the edge to Harden. Noah the GOAT, what's up, Anthony? What's up, my man? Appreciate you being here. If I played Sweeney instead of Marcus Johnson, would have tied for first on DK for 200K. Dude, I mean, yeah, I saw Sweeney caught that touchdown last night. I literally had no idea who that was. When he caught a pass, I was like, who in the hell is Sweeney? I didn't even know if he was even in the DK player pool. Talk me out of Chalk Pool. I mean, I can't talk you out of him. I think Jordan Poole is probably the best value play on the slate, especially on Yahoo. On Draftkings at 4,800, he still looks really good. I mean, Jordan Poole's already going to, he's announced as a starter. He's going to play big minutes. I expect him to be like the backup point guard whenever Steph's not on the court. Yeah, Jordan Poole's a really good value. He's underpriced. I mean, Jordan Poole's going to be like a 6K player for most of the season. So, 4,800, yeah, he's just too cheap. You doing Yahoo also? I'm not doing Yahoo specific videos this year, at least not right now, but I'm still playing on Yahoo. I'm still, I can still answer any Yahoo questions that you have. But so far, just to start the season, I'm going to focus on DK content. But I might start doing Yahoo again if enough people want it. The only issue with Yahoo is just, I don't know if there's enough of demand for Yahoo content, I would say. But Yahoo's been, they've been running big tournaments, so we'll see. Favorite time of the year? Basketball and football season, man. Whenever we have basketball and football going on at the same time, that's the best time of the year for sports, in my opinion. And you got playoff baseball, too. KD over Harden. I think I'm taking Harden over Kevin Durant tonight. You can't go wrong with either one, but I think I prefer Harden. I mean, without Kyrie, like, I can pull up the numbers last year. When Kyrie was off the floor, James Harden had a 34.9% usage rate, averaged 1.63 fantasy points per minute. Kevin Durant had a 33.5% usage rate, averaged 1.55 fantasy points per minute. Like, literally, the entire the entire Nets offense is going to run through KD and Harden. Like, you could play those two guys together tonight. I don't know if I'm going to, but, like, it wouldn't be surprising if both KD and Harden put up, like, 60 plus each. Kendrick Nunn, a good play. I think Kendrick Nunn's in play. I think he's super risky just because, I mean, we don't even know if he's playing. Like, he's one of the question marks right now. He's still questionable. But I think with Kendrick Nunn being questionable, with this being the late game, like, Kendrick Nunn's going to be low owned, I would assume. But I expect him to get a good amount of minutes if he plays. I mean, he should be a consistent part of this Lakers rotation. So we already know for the Lakers, we know who's starting. LeBron, AD, Westbrook, DeAndre Jordan, and Kent Bazemore. So that's their starting five. And then I expect Malik Monk to get minutes. I expect Kendrick Nunn to get minutes if he plays. I expect Carmelo Anthony to get minutes. I expect Dwight Howard to get minutes, I think. And then Rondo probably gets minutes. So that's 10 guys right there. How are they going to divvy up the minutes between those 10 guys? We don't really know. But Kendrick Nunn's productive enough to where even if he only plays like 20 minutes, he can put up a decent score at 4,300. And again, he's questionable, which is going to make him super low owned, I would assume. For a 2-game slate, at least, he's going to be low owned. So he's in play. Thoughts on Jordan and Howard at center and Grayson Allen for value on Yahoo? Yeah, DeAndre Jordan is starting, but, like, man, I just have no idea how many minutes DeAndre Jordan gets. Like, I feel like they're going to treat DeAndre Jordan like they used to treat JaVale McGee. Like, I think DeAndre Jordan starts, plays like 15 minutes, and that's probably it. So I personally don't have too much interest in Jordan. I think if you're playing a lot of lineups, you could definitely sprinkle in DeAndre Jordan. He would be in my player pool. If I'm playing like one lineup tonight, DeAndre Jordan's not going to be in my one lineup. And then Dwight Howard, I mean, he's just as risky. We don't really know how many minutes Howard's going to get either. I would rather play Jordan if I had to pick one. And then Grayson Allen, I do like Grayson Allen for value. We already know that he's going to start. I think without DiVincenzo, without Rodney Hood, you're probably going to get like 30 minutes for Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen, not really that productive of a player when he's on the floor, but he's super cheap and he's going to get minutes. So that makes him viable in my opinion. What do you think of Harden, Poole, Allen, Giannis, Blake, Curry, Bazemore, and Brown? I think that's very solid, Brandon. Very solid. Patty Mills getting any usage? I mean, Patty Mills, he's going to get some minutes. How many minutes does he play for Brooklyn? I really don't know. Like, again, we're still waiting on their starting lineup, and I don't know when we're going to get that. I mean, Patty Mills is not going to start, I wouldn't think. He probably gets like 18 to 20 minutes off the bench. You know, Patty Mills is a good three-point shooter. He's one of these guys that can get hot, but I don't have much confidence in Patty Mills, I would say. I think he's just like a dart throw GPP guy you could sprinkle in if you're playing a lot of lineups, but that's probably it. Favorite values on Yahoo? For me on Yahoo, I mean, Jordan Poole is like a stone cold lock. I don't see how you get away from Jordan Poole on Yahoo. And then, I mean, Joe Harris is really cheap on Yahoo. I like him there. Bruce Brown is cheap. Kent Bazemore is cheap as well. So, like, those guys below $15, those are the guys I'm looking at. So, Joe Harris, Bruce Brown, Kent Bazemore, Jordan Poole, Carmelo, I have some interest in. He's minimum salary on Yahoo. Grayson Allen is, now that he's starting, $10. You could play him too. Yeah, there's plenty of value on Yahoo. It's just a matter of, you know, picking which ones you want. But those are just a couple that I like. Grayson Allen and Aldridge for cap space. Grayson Allen, I have interest in. LaMarcus Aldridge, I don't think I'm going to go to LaMarcus Aldridge on this slate unless he surprisingly winds up starting. The Nets just have so many bigs. They have Blake Griffin. They have Aldridge. They have Paul Millsap. They have Claxton. Like, we don't really know how they're going to divvy up the minutes between those guys. We don't know if everyone, you know, if all four of those guys are even going to get minutes. You know, one of them might get a DMP. Aldridge is riskier unless he surprisingly starts, which I doubt happens. Any interest in Malik Monk? I mean, yeah, I think Malik Monk as a tournament option definitely makes sense. You know, he's going to come off the bench. He's probably going to play mid-20s minutes. I think he's going to get some open shots playing on this Lakers team. You know, if he's going to be on the floor with LeBron, we know LeBron can spread the floor really well. LeBron's going to demand so much from the defense that it allows for, you know, these shot makers like Malik Monk to get open looks. It's just a matter of if Malik Monk can make those threes that he gets, but yeah, Malik Monk's got upside, and I do expect him to get probably at least like low 20s minutes, if not maybe more. I'm really thinking about running with the big three on the Bucks. What's your thought on that? I don't think on this slate, Chris, I would be playing all three Bucks in the same lineup. If you're doing that, then you probably just want to game stack that game and hope it's like super, super high scoring, hope it goes to overtime or something. But I doubt I would have many lineups with all three Bucks. Even though it's a two-game slate, there's just too many other studs to go to. You think it's a good idea to stay away from the Lakers' big three because they all have to eat and limit each other's ceilings? I think the Lakers' big three will be the lowest owned of all the studs. So, in tournaments, I mean, yeah, you could definitely play LeBron. You could play AD. You could play Westbrook. But I do agree that, you know, I think the ceiling for AD, LeBron, Westbrook is a little bit lower this year. I think these guys are going to be very up and down. You know, we're not going to be able to know who's going to have the big game and when it's going to come. I think you're going to be guessing a lot when you roster these Lakers guys, but on a two-game slate, if they're going to be the lowest owned studs, I mean, yeah, I think getting some exposure to them in tournaments, I do like that. I will say that if you do play on Yahoo, Anthony Davis is like, he's expensive, he's $43, but the center position on Yahoo is just terrible. I mean, these are your centers to play on Yahoo. Anthony Davis, Brook Lopez, LaMarcus Aldridge, and then you could punt with like Kevon Looney or DeAndre Jordan. So I'd be a lot more likely to play Anthony Davis on Yahoo, where the center position is just, you know, so bad. Thanks for your help, Noah. Sure thing, my man. Sure thing, Tank. I demand Yahoo. I might start doing Yahoo again. I haven't been doing Yahoo for NFL, but I know a lot of you guys do play on Yahoo for NBA. I mean, I play on Yahoo every single day, so I would love to make Yahoo content. It's just, you know, the demand from a big crowd of people it hasn't been there, I guess. People just, you know, DK is what people really want. People want Draftkings content. Is Harden a priority, or could you also pivot to Curry on Yahoo? You can't go wrong with either one, Nicholas. I personally have both in my lineup right now. I'm not going to, you know, give you guys my lineup, but I am playing Harden and Curry together on Yahoo. But yeah, I mean, both are in play for me. I prefer Harden if I had to pick one, but I like both. What do you think about Lopez tonight? Lopez, I think, for me, the only reason Lopez made my player pool is just because center is not great. Like, the center position, there's not many options, especially on Yahoo. You know, you only have like 4 or 5 playable centers. So for that reason, I think Brook Lopez would be a good option. But, you know, to say that Brook Lopez stands out as like a top play on the slate, well, that would just be a lie. I mean, yeah, Brook Lopez, not someone I'm running to roster. I think just the lack of options at center make Lopez a viable option. What's your top 3 value plays? I mean, it depends site. I assume you're asking for DraftKings. For DraftKings, for me, for value, Jordan Poole. And then probably Jordan Poole, Bruce Brown, Kent Bazemore, assuming that Bruce Brown is starting. We still don't have the Nets starting lineup yet, but assuming Bruce Brown starts, he's a good value on DraftKings. Bazemore, now that he's starting, I like for value. And then Jordan Poole is probably the best value overall on DK. And you can play those guys on Yahoo as well. What's good knowing no more Yahoo content? I really enjoy. We might bring it back, Jumpman. We might bring it back. Any LeBron love? Do you have the ownership on him? I don't have ownership projections for NBA. I'd assume that LeBron's going to be, one of the lower owned studs. I think all the Lakers studs will be the lowest owned. I think Curry, KD, Harden, Giannis, I think all those guys get more ownership than every other Laker. So LeBron should be lower owned compared to the other studs we've talked about. If you want to play LeBron, by all means, you go ahead. What are some underpriced players on Yahoo that caught your eye? I didn't get a chance to watch your video for the slate. Yeah, we talked about a few already. Jordan Poole is a great value on Yahoo. And then Bruce Brown, Joe Harris, Kent Bazemore, Carmelo. Those are some guys I like for value on Yahoo. I need a forward for 4,700. Already have Melo and Bazemore. Forward for 4,700. Let's see. Yeah, I would probably just go Pat Connaughton there. I mean, it would be between Pat Connaughton or Grayson Allen for me, or Bruce Brown, I guess. Maybe go Bruce Brown if you don't have him yet. You have Melo and Bazemore. Yeah, I would probably take Bruce Brown then, assuming that he's starting. Jordan got a double-double in 15 minutes. I mean, yeah, DeAndre Jordan, he's productive when he's on the floor. It's just, man, his minute ceiling, I think, is really low. Like, I don't think DeAndre Jordan even sniffs 20 minutes. I think he's 100% probably going to play less than 20 minutes. They're going to close with AD at center. So I think Jordan's going to need to be really productive when he's on the floor. I would say that because I don't think he plays a ton of minutes. What do you think about Juan Toscano-Anderson? Well, he's risky, man. Like, I think he'll be in the rotation for Golden State, but I don't think that's a guarantee. We know we know the starters for Golden State, and then I expect Otto Porter to play off the bench. I expect Damian Lee to play off the bench. I expect Iguodala to play off the bench. I think Bielitsa will be in the rotation as well, so that's 9 guys right there. Do they decide to play Toscano-Anderson too? Maybe. But between him or like Bielitsa, I think I prefer Bielitsa. It seems like Bielitsa is going to be a consistent part of the Warriors rotation, and Bielitsa is one of those guys that can be productive when he's on the floor. So I actually would take probably Bielitsa over JTA. Harden or Giannis, flip a coin, man. I prefer Harden, I think. I think Harden will be a little bit lower owned, but yeah, you really can't go wrong with either one of Harden or Giannis tonight. Any thoughts on the Nets bigs? LA, yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for a starting lineup. If Blake starts, I think Blake's in play. But, man, it's just going to be so tough to predict what they do with all those guys' minutes. Like, I don't think it's a guarantee that all 4 of those guys even get minutes. One of them might not play. So I think starting lineup's going to be important. I assume Blake starts at center for Brooklyn, but we'll have to wait and see. Surprised we don't have that yet, given the game starts in 40 minutes. But that's NBA for you. What's up, Noah? How do you feel about Monk's minutes tonight? I think Monk's going to be a consistent part of the Lakers rotation. I think he's going to play like probably 20, 22 minutes most nights. And maybe, if he's making shots, if he's shooting the ball really well, maybe he gets more than that. But I think 20 to 22 minutes is pretty likely for Malik Monk. And, if Kendrick Nunn gets ruled out, which could happen, that would make me even feel better about Monk's minutes if Nunn doesn't play. Any value for 4,700? I would say to play Poole if you could find the $100 to play Poole, but 4,700 and below, my favorite guys are probably like Carmelo, Grayson Allen, Bruce Brown, Kent Bazemore, those 4 guys. Assuming whichever one you don't have, I guess. I got one for you, Middleton or Draymond on Yahoo. So Draymond, I had some interest in, but we did get a report during the day that Draymond's going to be on a minutes restriction. Draymond and Andrew Wiggins. I don't think it's going to be much of a restriction. I think, it probably means they play like 30 minutes instead of 34 minutes. But for that reason, I would take Middleton just because Draymond is going to be somewhat limited is what they say, is what Steve Kerr said. Who's your favorite power forward and center? I mean, I guess Giannis, but, I would say Giannis if you're paying up. And then if you're going cheap, if you're looking for value, like Carmelo, I have some interest in for value. And maybe Bielitsa, too, is like a riskier punt option. Thoughts on Millsap? I don't have much confidence in Millsap. I don't really know how many minutes Millsap gets. Again, I think he's one of those guys you can sprinkle in if you're playing a lot of lineups. I think Millsap probably gets like 10 to 15 minutes, but that's just a guess. Not much confidence in Millsap. He would be towards the bottom of my list in terms of cheap values to go to on this slate. I feel like I either have too much money or not enough not enough left over from salary. You mean like you're spending, or I feel like I have either too much money or not enough left over from salary. I don't know what you mean there, Fufu. I mean, on a 2-game slate, you can always leave salary on the table. It's kind of like Showdown. It's a good way to just get contrarian. There's going to be a lot of duplicated lineups on a 2-game slate. With Irving out, is Bruce Brown in play tonight, in your opinion? Absolutely. I assume that Bruce Brown starts for Kyrie, but we still don't have the Nets starting lineup yet. That's still something we're waiting on. But if Bruce Brown starts, he's a really good value, in my opinion. Any interest in Andrew Wiggins? I don't think so. The mid-range on this slate is just not great. I think this is definitely a stars and scrubs slate. There's so many studs to pay up for. There's plenty of cheap options to go to. None of these cheap options outside of Jordan Poole I have like a ton of confidence in. But there's so many viable guys 4K and below that on this slate, I just don't think going to the mid-range to guys like Andrew Wiggins, Middleton, Drew, like I just don't think I'm playing much of those guys. And Andrew Wiggins, they already said he's going to be on some sort of minutes limit, even if it's just even if it's a 30-minute limit, that's still probably enough to not even make me want to consider him. Andrew Wiggins is just one of those guys I just never play. Best forward, I mean, straight up, it's probably Giannis, but you gotta ask like salary, I guess. But just straight up, who scores the highest point at or who scores the most points at forward is probably Giannis or KD. Mentioning Yahoo like you do is appreciated. Hey, well, I'll take that into consideration. I'll take that to note, my man. I know a lot of you guys do play Yahoo, so maybe I will start bringing back some Yahoo stuff. You think Looney gonna start? Yeah, Looney's already announced as a starter. Looney's starting, and that was expected. Mid-tier build with Middleton and Draymond, Green, Wiggins. I mean, I think if you do something like that on this slate, I think it's going to be super contrarian. I don't think a ton of people are going to play mid-range guys just because this is a stars and scrubs slate, in my opinion. So I guess if you just want to get really off the board, sure, you could do like a mid-tier build, but the mid-range I just don't really like on this slate. Again, there's so many studs to pay up for. There's plenty of cheap options that are playable. I just feel like going mid-range tonight just doesn't make much sense, honestly. Thoughts on Pat Connaughton? Seems like nobody is talking about him. It's just the price point on Pat Connaughton. He's $4,700. Like, that's a lot to pay for Pat Connaughton when he probably only gets like 22, 24 minutes off the bench. I think if Pat Connaughton was $3,700, he'd be a good option. But at $4,700, man, that's expensive for Pat Connaughton. I don't know what his price is like on FanDuel or anything, he's cheap on Yahoo. I guess you could play him there. But on DK, I don't have really that much interest in him. Is Poole a lock? I mean, he's close to it. I mean, he's clearly the best like point per dollar play on the slate. And if you look at like any sort of projections, they're gonna have Jordan Poole like as the best probably overall value. So yeah, I mean Jordan Poole. If I'm playing one lineup tonight, he's one of the first guys I'm plugging in. Interested in Drew Holiday? Again, like I just, the mid-range, man, I just don't think I'm going to the mid-range that much. Drew, you could always play. You could always play Drew. You could always play Middleton. Those guys are definitely viable on a 2-game slate. But this is, in my opinion, a stars and scrubs slate. So I'm paying up for multiple studs, and then I'm going to fit in the values that I can fit in with those studs. I would be very surprised if like a mid-tier build is what wins tonight. I think that's really unlikely. Just because, with so many stars on this slate, a couple of these guys are probably going to put up 60-plus point games. And, are going to most likely be in the winning lineup. Aldridge, DD, like, I just don't know how many minutes he gets. I would want him to be starting, and I don't think he's going to start. So if Aldridge comes off the bench, he probably plays, like, 15 to 18 minutes. But then, like, how many minutes does Paul Millsap play? How many minutes does Claxton play? The minutes are just going to be hard to predict for the Nets bigs. So I'm looking for a starting lineup first, and then I'll kind of make my decision. But for now, I'm assuming Blake starts and gets the most minutes, and then Aldridge, Claxton, they'll probably like mix in both those guys with Paul Millsap too. Always watch you in FanDuel with some advice. Hey, appreciate that, Tapman or Tapma. Appreciate that, my man. I know a lot of you guys, even though you play FanDuel, you guys still watch the content. I appreciate it. If I win the million tonight, I'm sharing with Noah for these great tips. Hey, Gabriel, you ain't got to give me your money, but hey, good luck to you. I hope you win that million. Hope you win that million. I know that the biggest tournament on DK tonight is like 250K, but that's still a shit ton of money for a 2-game NBA slate. Or 250K to first, I should say. Who's the best scrub off the bench? I mean, my favorite bench guy is probably like Carmelo. I think Carmelo is going to get like mid to high 20s minutes. And we know Carmelo, you know, he's not afraid to shoot when he's on the floor. And he's only 3,900. So I think if I have to play anyone off the bench tonight, it's probably Carmelo. Griffin or Porter? Give me Blake Griffin, assuming that he starts. Give me Blake Griffin. Looney or Jordan? I think Jordan's a better point per minute player. I think Looney plays way more minutes than Jordan does, so I'd probably take Looney just for the minutes. Curry, Poole, Brown, Anthony, Giannis, Harden, Bazemore, Griffin. That's a solid lineup, Bill. I like that. Would you pay up for center on Yahoo? Yeah, we talked about how bad the center position is on Yahoo, so I think paying up for Anthony Davis is probably the way that I would go. And overall on this slate, like Anthony Davis is not like my favorite stud or anything, but the center position is just so bad that I think paying up for AD on Yahoo makes a lot of sense. Is it okay to leave 1K on the table with all these 3K values and not much center value? I mean, I think it's fine for a 2-game slate. Normally, on a NBA main slate, I would not leave that much salary on the table, but for a 2-gamer, I think it's fine. DeAndre Bembry, no one talking about him. I mean, I don't know if DeAndre Bembry is going to be in the rotation. We look at Brooklyn, like, who do we expect to get minutes off the bench? They got their starters, and then I assume Aldridge, Millsap, Patty Mills, Claxton, I assume those guys get minutes. Maybe James Johnson plays minutes. I just don't know if Bembry's going to be in the rotation. So, I don't have much interest in him. Any thoughts on Oliver? Who's Oliver? For the Lakers? Cameron Oliver? I mean, yeah, I don't expect him to be in the rotation either. Like, they just have too many other bodies, the Lakers do. So, LeBron, AD, Westbrook, DJ, Bazemore, that's the starters. So there's your starting 5. You expect Malik Monk to play minutes off the bench. You expect Carmelo. You expect Dwight Howard. You expect Rondo. You would assume Kendrick Nunn's playing minutes if he's, active. That's 10 guys right there. I don't think they're going to play more than 10 guys. So I don't expect Oliver to get minutes. And he's not starting, by the way. The Lakers have already put out their starting lineup. It's it's Westbrook, Bazemore, LeBron, AD, DeAndre Jordan. That's the Lakers starting lineup. Going to try Yahoo out for the first time tonight? Hey, good luck, Cincy. Good luck, my man. Any Looney? I think Looney's definitely in play. Looney's not a guy that really has much upside, but we've seen when he starts, he normally does get at least like 22 to 24 minutes, and on a 2-game slate, that could be good enough. So I think Looney is playable. Looney's upside's a bit limited, but he's going to start and get decent minutes, which makes him viable on a 2-gamer. Would you play Malik Monk over Pat Connaughton? Dennis, I think those 2 guys are very close for me. I probably would take Connaughton, but man, that's close. I don't really have a strong lean either way. Griffin or Melo? I mean, Blake Griffin's probably safer, assuming that he's starting. So I would take Blake, but for the savings, I like Melo. I think Melo is a good value. 5,500 for center, who do you think's the best play? If you got 5,500 for center, I would play Blake Griffin. I mean, that's your best option, assuming that Blake is starting. Bazemore versus Melo. I would say Bazemore since he's starting and he probably plays a few more minutes, but I like both those guys a good amount tonight, Bazemore and Melo. Is Monk over Looney okay? Is Looney a must start now? I don't think Looney's a must by any means. I mean, Looney's starting, so he's a decent value, but, we've seen even when Looney starts, it's not like he's going to, smash or anything. He's a low upside player. So taking Monk over Looney, I think is fine. Noora projected minutes. I don't have projected minutes, Joe, but I think Noora does get like 12 to 15 minutes, and I'd assume, most projection sites are probably going to have him around that, projection. So 3K stone minimum on Draftkings. Yeah, I mean, Jordan Noora is playable, I think. Melo or Aldridge? I think I would take Carmelo. Harden. So the Nets did release their starters? Okay, net starters. Harden, Harris, Durant, Griffin, Claxton. Okay. So Bruce Brown is not starting. They're going with Nicholas Claxton in the starting lineup. That is... Okay, I did not expect that. All right, I'm going to have to make some changes. I'm going to have to hop off real quick, guys, because I got to fix some stuff. But that is interesting. I think Nick Claxton now is a really good value. I mean, Nick Claxton is minimum salary on Yahoo. He's 4K on Draftkings. We've seen when Claxton gets minutes, he can be productive. Now, how many minutes does he play? I think probably low 20s. I think 20 to 22. But Claxton's good enough. He's a productive enough player in 22 minutes, 20 minutes. He can put up, fantasy point per minute and be a good value. So with that news, I think Nick Claxton's a solid value now. And I think Bruce Brown takes a little bit of a hit. So, yeah, now that Bruce Brown is not starting, he becomes a little bit more riskier. But I'm gonna hop off the stream right here. I gotta fix some stuff before lock. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully I was able to answer everyone's questions. I wish you guys the best of luck tonight, and we'll be back same time tomorrow, maybe a little bit earlier for Wednesday slate. We got a lot more games tomorrow to break down. So good luck tonight, guys, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll be streaming tomorrow, and I also have a video up for the main slate. But good luck, fellas. Good luck.